Hi everyone. So it is going to be my first time to do a podcast. So I will try to record it also so that just in case more viewers are watching over YouTube, that it will be of a help. So I hope it works. I tried to write down a script first and since it's going to be my first time, and then I just tried to nilagay ko muna lahat ng mga gusto kong sabihin in a script. So our topic is actually on what to say. Actually, it's a 5-step guide on what to say to a grieving friend. So especially now during the pandemic, diba, parang there are a lot of people who are losing loved ones, and tayo minsan as a friend, we don't know how to comfort or how to reach out to them, especially na there is no way also to hold a time to grieve kasi nga iba yung situation right now. So hopefully this would be able to help, and even it's even not just for those who are grieving, even for those who are depressed or going through deep suffering or deep emotional distress. And I think this is also a good thing for processing with kids also. Actually, I just also learned this over time, learning from different teachers, also books and coaches, and what I experienced also that worked for me, and for the groups that I handled, and like the support groups that we also handled, who went through grief and depression. So, sige, I won't wait too long. Let's record this. So I hope this works. Okay. This is the 5-step guide to know what to say to a grieving friend. Hi, I am Felice Lucas, a wife and a mother to Tori, Kalea, Ethan, and my eldest Katie, who died at age 3 years old and 7 months because of a rare form of leukemia. I am creating this series on grief because I have observed how difficult it is to grieve and comfort at this time of the pandemic. Ngayon, 'di ba, yung new normal or moving forward used to be dedicated to individuals who have lost a loved one or to those who are grieving and bereaved. But for now, it has become a part of our conversation and our healing as a community. So maybe right now you're wondering, or maybe you have a friend or a family member who is grieving, who is possibly losing something which is a part of himself, or grief is usually associated with a person who died, but it can also be a person losing joy or someone experiencing suffering and is difficult to define. Grief is grief like depression cannot be described in one word because it is an umbrella of many different terms. It is far too complex to just describe it as just plainly grief or plainly depression. I wonder if you also find yourself catching yourself na you are at a loss of words on how to show love for a friend or a family member. As someone who personally experienced grief and depression and coached multiple individuals and groups through a series of grief and depression, I hope that I will be able to share with you what I have experienced, observed, and also learned. In my search for answers, I read books, sought help through doctors, a grief coach, and attended multiple seminars from different hospitals and learned from different speakers also, locally and internationally. So I'm sharing this podcast not as a medical consult, but simply coming from personal growth. You may choose to apply or choose what you want to do with the topics or the things that you may hear from me. But whatever it may be, my main goal is that you as a friend would be able to journey with your grieving friend instead of pushing her farther away from you. So sometimes the lack of words or too much words is the cause of one's anxiety, anger, distress, and depression. They're already grieving and they're experiencing far more emotions that they cannot understand. So how then should we do it, or what do we say? A grieving friend does not need an expert nor someone who went through what she went through, as some of us would mostly think. A grieving person is disoriented. Sometimes she may feel that she is going crazy. Yes. She really needs, what she really needs right now is a safe place, a safe person who will journey with her to validate that what she is feeling is normal because of the intense pain that she is feeling. She needs an active listener who will help her find a sense of direction and self realization to rediscover what she already knew all along. It is simply to bring her back to herself. Now, there are 5 things that I will share with you, which has been very effective to me, and to the grieving, to the people that I have coached with their grief and with their depression. But before I share with you the 5 things, you need to have 4 goals. Okay, so it's very simple. 4 goals. The first goal is to create conversation. Okay, you need to be able to create a conversation because someone who is grieving needs to be able to share her story, needs to purge out what she is feeling. Second, your goal is to observe and communicate it. Your goal is not to be an expert, your goal is to be a listener. You have to observe, active listening, and you have to communicate what she's feeling. You're just summarizing it for him. And third, your goal is to be able to help your friend discover what he needs. Right now, there's a lot of things going on in his head, and he doesn't even know what to do or what he needs. There's just a really intense emotion that she's feeling. So, what you need to do is to help him discover what he needs. And lastly, you need to be able to bring her back to herself. That who she really was all along. That she knew this already. She just needed somebody to help her have a sense of direction, to have a sense of realization, and to just really rediscover what she knew all along. So how do we do this? You would ask. How do we do this? So there are 5 steps that you need to be able to do with your friend. First is you need to practice active listening. I will explain further later. Second, you need to ask questions. Third, you need to summarize. Fourth, you need to affirm. And fifth, you have to regroup the whole sharing. All the things that she shared, you need to be able to regroup it. So, your attitude towards your friend should be that of a student. She doesn't need an expert right now. What she needs right now is a friend who will journey with her. Most of the counselors or doctors would say, that I'm the expert, I'm here to help you, I'm here to fix you. But you as a friend, you don't have to be an expert with what to say and what not to say. You can actually ask your friend, teach me, like, what is it like for you? You ask questions. What is it like for you to go through this? Allow me to understand what you're experiencing. Sometimes for us, it's difficult to ask these things because we want to possibly save our friend from what she's feeling, or sometimes we feel uncomfortable with her pain and that we just want to solve her or treat her. But right now is not the time. Right now, she needs a friend who would listen and journey with her. Now is a time for her to grieve. Now is a time for her to purge what she's feeling. It's very important to approach this attitude with an attitude of being a listener, of being a student. You do not need to be a teacher right now. This encourages him to be able to share more openly and deeply with you, knowing that you are really interested with what she has to say. If she knows that you really are interested and you are not there to solve her or to fix her, she will be able to feel safe and to be heard, and that she will be able to know that, hey, I can take charge of my own journey. And that is what a grieving person needs, to just really regroup her thoughts. So, first, you need to practice active listening. Your friend will test you if you can be her safe space without her knowing this. Because she would usually ask, why? Why like this? Why did this happen? Why me? Why her? It's so unfair. Why? And if you give her answers, she will definitely hold back from expressing or grieving with you. And it will just push her back. And sometimes a person who is grieving, just her ears are very intensified, that a few words or so many words could actually be translated into another word wherein it could be taken against you. So right now you do not need to be an expert. Again, she is the expert in this. This is her grief journey. This is very unique for her. So your responsibility as a friend is to be able to coach her, to organize her thoughts, because right now her thoughts are very is everywhere. What you need to do is to help her organize her thoughts. You have to help her funnel down and make her see what she knew all along, and to just allow her to purge her feelings. Again, you need to help her organize her thoughts by active listening. You have to help her funnel down and make her see what she already knew all along. So how do you do this? You ask questions. Okay, so how do we ask? What are the questions that we need to ask? Before we need to ask the questions, you let her know that you are a safe space. You have to let her know that she can gain your trust. You can tell her that, feel free to talk to me, and I will not judge you. I'm just here to listen, and if you want me to respond, I will. And usually they really do. They will really ask, please let me know. What do you think, like that? So I want to encourage you that a person who is grieving and depressed, she may look like she's all over, and for others she may look even crazy, but her emotions doesn't define who she is. Her emotions just really define where she is right now. It's really hard to be on autopilot, to have good emotions at a time wherein you have intense pain in your heart. So, how do you encourage her? How do you practice active listening? Okay, since you've already set the space that you are going to be a safe space. Second is, you have to ask the right questions. Usually a question is, how are you, or how are things going? Usually this is very focused on how she's doing physically, if she's sick or she's doing well. But if you want to move forward, or like to encourage them to see hope or change in things, you as a friend, you need to tap their emotions and spiritual self. So the good question possibly to ask is that, how are you doing within yourself? Like, within yourself, how are you feeling? What are the thoughts that is going in your mind? So with this, it will make them think, and it will make them cry. And crying is healthy. You really have to ask the right questions. You don't need to say a lot of words, just really asking the right questions that will allow them to purge out what they're feeling. Third, once you are practicing active listening, so you listen and then you ask questions. Active listening is actually asking questions, listening what they're feeling, asking questions. Now, of course, sometimes a person who is grieving will really take up your time, and possibly you might not have enough time. So what do you do so that it won't take too long? What you have to do is to sometimes find if you feel that it's already becoming a cycle of what she's feeling, that's good. What she needs right now is that you summarize for her. You have to summarize what you have heard from her. So it's like you're saying, I hear this, and I want. So is this what you're feeling right now? Like what you said, like this. So what you want, you have to be able to help her organize her thoughts, and what you would like her to zero in. And maybe this is the time wherein she would just really need to hear herself, like you bounce back the words that she said, so that she can reorganize her thoughts. Again, summarize. So first, you have to practice again active listening the whole time by asking questions and most importantly summarizing what she's saying. You have to hear, okay, so I see that there are two things that you're really concerned about. There are two things that you would like to zero in. Maybe right now because sometimes there's a person who is grieving sometimes sees other people that they feel might need more help than them. Sometimes it's their kids, sometimes it's their spouse, sometimes it's their parents, sometimes it's their siblings, and they feel na, oh, okay, but I have to think of this, I have to think of that. But you have to affirm her that there's a lot going on. Like I hear you, I hear that you're very concerned, or you love your husband and that you want to help her, but right now you are important to me and I want to be here for you. And right now they are important, but you are important to me right now. And let them feel that you are there for them. So this will help them zero and summarize it. So you ask them, so what is it that you want to walk away with, or what is it that you, if there was two things or maybe one thing that you want to zero in on, like you want to process, so what would it be? So asking that, what is it that you possibly want to talk about or process with? Or maybe sometimes it's as simple as, I want to understand if was it really my fault that this that she died? Was it did I have a factor in it? Then if that's something that she wants to zero in on, then and help her out, then encourage her, affirm her that if this is what you want to zero in right now, then go for it. If you are really thinking and you are really troubled, and that your main concern right now, your what you want to zero in right now is to identify if it was really your fault why she died, then ask until you find the right answers. So that really worked out for me when I was thinking that it was my fault, or it was something that concerned our blood, which is why the reason why our daughter died. So what we did was, I was encouraged to, okay, ask, take the test, take the blood test and see if there's really a genetic factor in what happened to her. And when the results came out, it gave me peace of mind that the doctor said, it was really a spontaneous one, that it was not in your blood, it was not in your genetics, or it was really a spontaneous thing that happened to her. And this is a good place to begin with. So, affirming her that her questions or her troubles is a good place to start. And there is right now, what you need to help her is that you help her to organize her thoughts and to really zero in on what she wants to work on, and let her share her story. This is the time wherein she needs to purge and grieve. Right now may not be the time for answers, but eventually, as the more that you summarize or you practice active listening to her, she will be able to regroup her thoughts. And whenever you give false hope, whenever you give affirmation, though, always be reminded not to give false hope. Sometimes we want to encourage people, we're in like, oh, she's gonna get better, she's gonna be healed. Fewer words is better than having too much false hope. So I think the right words at the right time is the most important, because the grieving has the right to honestly know what is going on in his body, in his thoughts, and in his loved one. This he needs to there are that we are just really there to walk the journey with them and to support their decisions, and not to impart our ideas on them. And the more that we impart our ideas on them, the longer they are able to, the longer that they will be able to resolve and reorganize their grief. Um, I remember the verse in 2 Corinthians 4 to 5, 4 to 5, like, It was saying that even though we are outwardly wasting away, we can at the same time be inwardly getting stronger spiritually, being renewed day by day. Someone who is grieving will understand this very well. During a time of grief, you feel that you're really wasting away. But spiritually, inside, the more that you process it, the more that you get to understand yourself more, and the more that you are actually being renewed day by day. This inner emotional strength and their relationship with God will be greater than ever before. And this will be the time wherein their faith will not be borrowed. And this is going to be their grief journey and their faith journey as well. This is something that they will often want to reflect on and discuss. So you can continuously ask them about it. And lastly, you have to regroup the whole sharing. You have to take him back to himself, because sometimes a person who's really processing will have a lot of things to say, even not just in grief, but going through distress. They will have to say, they will eventually say a lot of things. But what you need to do is to just really regroup, reorganize her thoughts again, and take him back to himself, because that's what you or he wants to focus on. So moving forward, you have to ask her, okay, where can she continue sharing her story? Maybe a family member that she wants to talk with, or maybe another friend or a support group, or maybe she wants a coach, or maybe during this time she just really wants you. The person will feel that she will have direction and self realization if you continue to regroup it for her, to reorganize it for her, so that she will be able to hear what she knew all along, so that it will bring her back to herself. The grieving and the bereaved has so much to teach us. And whenever I would facilitate a grief group, at the very start of every session, we've handled multiple groups already. I would always get fearful, because I would expect that it would be so draining and depressing, and I would really, just really fear it or not want to do it. But honestly, every after session, every after talking about it or processing it with them, I actually love spending time with them, because the grieving and the bereaved, they really know um, what is important, and they really look beyond themselves, and they understand things like they know what's important in life. So in this act of service, in this act of listening, of being an active listener, or being a friend to a stranger, I actually found my healing as well. And I think that's very important, that with your friend, as you process with her, as she grows, allow her also at the right time be able to pay it forward, because that is where she will hear herself more as well. I love being with those who are really grieving, because they really teach us how to live, and they allow us to see that the Lord is really in control, that everything is really predetermined. It's really a privilege to walk with people, to understand what eternity is all about. So you as a friend, listen to them, learn from them, be a student. Do not be the expert right now. You have to find the truth with them. You ask them to teach you. Be the student, and they will teach you how to live. So again, I hope that this episode was able to help you become a better friend, not just to a grieving person, not just to a person who's going through deep distress, but generally a person who lives beyond herself. So to summarize, what is your goal? Your goal is to create conversation, to observe and communicate with your loved one, to help him discover what he needs, and most especially to bring him back to himself. So how will you do this? You need to practice active listening by asking questions. You talk less and you allow him to speak more, and then you just summarize what they just said, and and affirm and identify if there's an act that needs to be done, or just affirm what she's feeling, and she needs that right now. And most especially, you need to regroup the whole sharing. You need to regroup everything that she had said. She needs to be able to, oh, okay, parang reorganize what was so confusing beforehand. So I hope that this podcast was able to encourage you to become a better friend. Looking forward to the next episodes, which is still going to be about grief. So have a good day, and may you be able to encourage a grieving friend today. Ayan. So I was able to record. I believe it was around 25 minutes. So hopefully next time I'll be able to shorten it out. But I hope it was a good start, and hopefully I will have less scripts so that it will be more fluid for me. But I think it was, or maybe share more of my experiences, but medyo panic pa ako ngayon. But hopefully that was really able to encourage you to become a better friend, and how to reach out to a grieving friend. So have a good day. This is Feliz Lucas of Today with the Lucas.